time, we're just going to take a look at some of the principles behind these free trade agreements and some guiding principles in some of the major chapters. And we will kind of make sure you have the tools and the resources to help you navigate through those free trade agreements, and also able to pinpoint some of the areas where you see these free trade agreements affecting your business. Next slide, please. Here you see this map. Sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry about that.
Yeah, here is a map of the network of Canada's free trade agreements. Up until today, up to right now, Canada has 14 free trade agreements with 51 countries, and it opened doors to a population of 1.5 billion. And you may ask, what is a free trade agreement? Actually, a free trade agreement is a treaty between two or more countries to facilitate trade and eliminate trade barriers. It aiming at eliminating tariffs completely from day one or over a certain number of years. When we look at the free trade agreements, we can summarize into like 4 key points that shows on the slides here. So the one is non-discrimination. So that means when we trade with the countries that Canada has a free trade agreement with, and the country will treat Canada as their local. A good example would be with the Europe CETA. You know, like within Europe, there is a customs union. That means goods moves between those countries, between those European countries are zero tariff free. Since we have the since Canada has the free trade agreement with Europe, this we call the CETA. Now the Canadian manufactured goods, and that means the rule of origin. When we export to Europe, we will also enjoy the zero tariff when exporting. And transparency, when we look at the transparency, is more like okay.
Sorry, I thought it was.
Yeah, sorry, no worries. Yeah, and just transparency is almost the same thing. It's like everything, they'll make it clear, like the trading partners agree to make the rules for accessing the market and operating the market visible, and then make these rules available. Like we, as Canada, we put all our regulatories publicly, so that the country that's trading with Canada will know in advance what are the rules, what are the tariffs, and we expect the same as the other trading partners. Another example I want to bring in is also with CETA, with Europe. The CETA came into effect in 2017, September 2017. But later, like less than a year later, Europe introduced a data protection regulation. So with that new rules, it affects the Canadian company a lot, especially when those are doing business with like e-commerce. So that way, so the Europe Union, they notified us about the new rules, and then I remember that our department and also my colleagues from all over the European post were busy educating and notifying Canadian company about that new rules. And when we look at the predictable rules, this is also, well, we want to say like Canada is the rule of law, and we expect the other country to follow the same principle. And when we talk about the predictable rules, and there's a good example for like CPTPP, the Canada's free trade agreement with Asia Pacific countries. It's usually it's because of a different governing. For some of the countries, there are large state-owned commercial enterprises. So with the particular rules that Canada implemented with the those free trade countries, Canada is protected. Canadian companies is protected, and we can deal, we can bid or we can do business in a fair and predictable and a transparent environment. And the last one I just want to mention here is a preferential access. So that means we enjoy the most favorable tariff, either zero tariff, a very small tariff when dealing with, when trading with these, the countries that Canada has a free trade agreement with. Next slide, please.
Okay, June, I'm just going to try this mode. If you're able to see this, please let me know because it's easier for the audience to look at. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. So it's easier for everyone now. Yeah.
Okay, now we're looking, because on that note, when we talk about the predictable rules and the preferential access, there are 5 steps that for Canadian companies, Canadian small and medium-sized company like yourself, that you need to do to reduce or eliminate tariff when exporting goods. So we all talk about a tariff. What is that? It's just, for me, it's just like the additional fee that you do business with. So like usually tariff is the country who imports the foreign products. They levy that so that they can protect their local businesses. So with Canada's free trade agreement, with signing free trade agreements, Canadian company can actually export to sell goods in those countries tariff-free. So in order for the Canadian companies to enjoy the preferential rates, what you need to do, there are like simple steps that you can follow, which shows on this flow chart. First of all, you need to determine the correct tariff classification of your products. So this is like an HS code. You have to know your HS code. If you don't know your HS code, you can go to our tarifffinder.com. That's a website that our department, in partnership with BDC and the CBSA, we put it in. There is like a database. You can put in a description of your products, and then it will pop up the HS code that applies, like the HS codes to your products. So once you determine the tariff, you really have to make sure that those are the correct ones. Because sometimes in North America we have 8 digits, but if you export to Japan, for example, they may add another set of digits in those HS code. So once you have found your HS code, and then the next steps, you can determine tariff preferences. When you look at this, you will see what do you mean, determine. Because we have like a free trade agreement with 51 countries. In some countries, for example, like Chile or Mexico, it covers with 2 different type of free trade agreements. So it really depends on your products, and also depends on your, the goods, how much you meet the rule of origin. You can choose the one that is in most favor of your products. So number 3, like step 3 is once you confirmed that your product meets the rule of origin, and then you will have to claim it. Because even though when you deal with the countries that Canada has a free trade agreement, but if you don't claim it, they don't give it to you automatically. So what you will do is you have to like declare it. There are different formats that you can do. It varies between each and every free trade agreement. If you go to the next slide, please. I think this shows a sample of, this is, and the next one, and the next one, yes. So this is one, it shows a sample of certificate of origin if you export to CETA countries. But the good news about the CPTPP and the CUSMA is there's no prescribed format for those countries. So when you export to those countries, you can pretty much put every information. They will ask you what kind of information that you need to put in the document, but you can most of the time you can do it on a commercial invoice. So for CPTPP and CUSMA, you can either the producer or the importer or the exporter, any of the parties can actually claim this the preferential rate for your exporting goods. If we could move to the next slide, please. We also, there is, you know, the free trade agreements also protect you when you're investing abroad. We say investing abroad with confidence. You will look at a no discrimination or performance requirements. That means when you invest in the foreign markets, the local the government they should treat you the same as the local company. Compensation for expropriation. So this means like if you're doing very good in that country and then the government wants to nationalize they just want to buy it out because they love it so much, but they will have to pay you a fair and a market rate. They can't just, you know, take it over and nationalize your investment. And under unconditional transfers, that means you can retrieve, you can just get your money back whenever and whatever way that you want. Well, of course, there are some exceptions for sure. And also there is enforceable through ISDS. Well, the ISDS, just to let you know that the new CUSMA doesn't have this provision, just for your information. The next slide, please. And first, you know, facilitating short-term entry of business people. This is temporary entry. Well, I cannot imagine. Well, I mean, this is now is under difficult time, but normally when we're back to normal, I cannot imagine like a Canadian company will not either send some people, send workers in person or like participant in trade shows or trade missions or, you know, to be there, to be in a foreign country to prepare for a bid. So what the free trade agreement help Canadian companies is that they will, when you need to send your workers or you yourself to those to those countries, there's no preparational requirements nor numerical restrictions. That means, like for a certain country, they cannot look at their records saying, oh, there are already 150 Canadians in our country. We cannot let more Canadians come to work in our country. There's nothing like that would happen. And then when you need to send somebody over to either do a, you know, do long-term, like short-term, a mid-term, there's a no economic needs test when immigration and employment region still applied. It's like, they cannot say, oh, we have many of those kind of talents that we cannot allow Canadian to come in. They can't do that. And also, once you are rightful to go work short term or mid term to those countries, there are like there are visas for you, spouse and dependents. Please, next slide, please. Now when it's open up foreign, the free trade agreements open up foreign government procurement. And just so that you know that CUSMA doesn't have this provision, but CETA and CPTPP, that means that you can actually bid on their government procurement. From what we see from the Trade Commissioner's point of view, our advice is for you to always look for a local partner to start these procurement bidding process. Next slide, please. Next, please. Next one, please. Yeah, this is just to, because we did a really quick survey and to survey about 500 Canadian companies and ask their FTA awareness. It's very, for us, it's like our colleague really tried very hard to negotiate those free trade agreements, and we really want the Canadian companies to take advantage of them. But you can see that only like 7% of the Canadian business community is aware of these free trade agreements. Our goal is like through webinars and events with partners like this one, just to promote the FTA awareness, and at the same time is expand the Canadian business capability to compete globally. Next one, please. And yes, this one. Okay, the new, well, it's not that new, but it's still new. The newest free trade agreement is the, people call it NAFTA 2.0, or they call it different names. But in Canada, we call it CUSMA. So this is just listed if there's, because the Canadian, well, companies will ask what's the difference. So over here, we list it's the major differences between the NAFTA and CUSMA. You will probably see whatever remain the same is the market access, predictable business environment, majority of rule of origin, and a temporary entry for business persons. That's like labor mobility. But when you look at what is new, these are the new chapters. And the new chapters addressing modern trade issues come like IP and like a digital industry. And there's a new agricultural market access, strengthen rules of origin for autos. There's a whole sub-chapter about autos. And like I mentioned, there's no ISDS applicable to Canada. And there's a no government procurement chapter applicable to Canada. And there's a special resource for trade remedy measures. Next slide, please. Okay, so this, I just want also, like I mentioned, there are many tools and resources, and I want you to be aware of. And you can start with the our website, the CPTPP, or the CETA, or the CUSMA, and also the ones that I've mentioned is the Canada Tariff Finder. You'll be able to determine and also find the tariff for your products. And also, the next one, please. And also about the Trade Commissioner Service. You may be aware of the Trade Commissioner Service is we are a commercial branch of Global Affairs Canada. Our mission is to advance Canada's commercial interests around the world. We do this by connecting you with funding and supporting programs with a network of 6 regional offices and more than 160 offices abroad. Next one, please. And I also like to mention the funding programs. You were looking at 4, but the Can Export SMEs, the first one, which is also the yellow one, is the one that the most relevant to you. This funding funds up to 75%, is up to $75,000 actually, for a project that will support you to undertake new export activities in the new markets. The funding covers. It used to cover travel. Now it doesn't until the travel restrictions is lifted. Now it's covered everything you can think of, that the activities that will support you develop a new market. Something like if you let's say if you want to participate in a virtual trade show, and then it will fund some of the virtual booth. It will do the translation. And if you need to, like I said, there is a GDRP, there's a new rules, a tax rules in other countries. If you're not familiar with, you can actually hire consultants, and then you can hire a consultant, and then it will fund that consulting fee for you to get to know the market. It can also fund you for market study, adapting the market tools, something like, if you want to revamp your website here just to do a target to a foreign market, it funds some of those as well. And the most part we're doing now is it funds online advertising. So it's because we cannot travel now, and then they allocate a lot of the travel funds now to fund, we call it digital campaign. You can run an ad at your target market. You can choose your social media platform. Either it could be a Facebook, you can run a Google ad search, ad spend, you can do that. And the cap, the maximum that you can apply in the project is $50,000. Next one, please. This is us. All the resources that I mentioned, and also for the information and tools on how to navigate through FTA, how to utilize those funding programs, and what we do, what the Trade Commissioner do, how we can help you, expand internationally. You can find us. I am in the Toronto, Ontario region office. Please feel free after this event, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about the Trade Commissioner service, our funding program. And just to let you know that we work with the Canadian companies by sectors. I myself cover consumer products. But if you are in an automotive sector, or you're in an ICT, you're in any like a clean tech, still feel free to reach out to me, and I will be able to facilitate an introduction to the appropriate Trade Commissioner for you. Next slide, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, June, for that really lovely presentation. I think, Jean, if you're ready, then we can shift to your screen.
Sure. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Jean-Manasseh Théagène, founder and CEO of 360 MedLink. Let me put this in full screen mode. Is it working? Are you seeing it? I'm not seeing it going into full mode for some reason.
It's not. Oh, there we are.
Okay, but now it's giving it in the wrong view, I think. Anyway, no worries. So for the next few minutes, I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about our company and how we get to know with the different trade delegates and programs. So first, about the problem we're trying to solve, which is related to clinical trials and also to patient personalized care. The solution we have brought to market, which are a set of digital platforms, and our international presence. And then in final, how some of these trade rules impact our business. So the first one is about the team. So myself, coming from the pharma industry, and launched the company in 2010. And today we're a team of about 35 people in different countries with different skill sets, from medical practice to pharma to nursing to technology expertise, of course, and also nursing. Our head office is based in Montreal. As you know, Montreal has become, for the last couple of years, one of the big hubs or global hubs for technology related to the artificial intelligence, interactive gaming, virtual reality, and all that. So I think we're very well placed to be able to scale globally with innovation and adapting to the healthcare environment. So our offices are currently based beyond Montreal in Tunisia and also in Paris. And we have also people working in Spain and the US. So we are a very multicultural and multilingual team. Since we started the company, we quickly got a lot of, I would say, support from big clients. So starting with large pharma companies, and today also a group of smaller biotechs, including US government and the state of Rhode Island, and new partnerships with patient advocacy group and also the group Zimbizi, which we'll talk about very briefly after. We also won many accolades, rewards, and awards, and most recently in 2020, the Galleon Award, where we were some of the top finalists, and also an achievement award from the state of Rhode Island. Our focus and our mission is really to bring to market clinically tested solutions in the digital area, but with a special focus on special populations. And some of the reasons is that we know, especially now with COVID, how it has impacted different populations, and sometimes communication in healthcare doesn't work as efficiently when the cultural, the religious, and the ethnicity aspects are not taken into consideration. We have two verticals in the company, one where we started with this, different platforms that are targeting primarily clinical trials, and the other is the digital therapeutics, more and more that's being called nowadays, platforms that is a treatment companion for patients. If we start with the clinical trials, and again, I won't spend too much time in this, but there are a lot of issues nowadays, as we see with trials, in terms of improving their coordination, increasing engagement by investigators, but also enrolling patients into them. So there are many parameters that affect those. So for us, we've brought to market a couple of platforms which have been helping our clients scale their trials and improving their performance. Here you can have a very brief view of those platforms, from newsletters to also microsites. And this is just one example of recent success in the trials that we have helped in terms of achieving enrollment ahead of time. And I think in the last 7-8 years, we've worked with probably a dozen of trials, which now have become actual commercial products who are supporting patients primarily in oncology and in rare disease. Obviously, everything digital also has to get metrics behind it, analytics, and the different data portion that is very important for the sponsors. So this is just to show you the ecosystem that we've built, where not only the applications are working with users, but also to be able to track their performance, so we can report the return on investment. But also in healthcare, more and more, there's a lot of focus into real-world evidence to be able to build more credibility in the applications. The second problem we're tackling is, also, as I mentioned earlier, is about how do we get patients engaged in treatment, but also to remain adherent, and particularly to respond to the needs of different subgroups of subpopulations, given that most applications, especially when we look at VC-funded applications, people tend to go towards the very large population with a one-size-fits-all approach, which doesn't necessarily work so well. So this is where, with our TAVI platform, we are tackling this aspect by providing a solution that is easily to scale, easily to adapt to different therapeutic areas, but also to incorporate in the different technologies and features that are very exciting for our users, including nowadays with the gamification of behavior economics aspect, and also the virtual maps and resources that they can easily attain. So today we're already present in at least 4 different therapeutic areas and scaling with clients internationally. So what it is, essentially, it's a video pre-recorded sort of approach that has also artificial intelligence to really make the experience very personalized to the patient, no matter what ethnicity of or cultural aspects they select to better fit their needs, with language and also with a decent level of literacy aspect. So with this now, we are in a position to really build a stronger portfolio of this digital platform, again, already present in 4 different categories of disease. Just briefly, some, I would say, positive returns we're getting out of this feedback. We launched a TAVI psoriasis in France last October, and these are some of the results already getting from patients with regard to their level of satisfaction, the level also of how they would recommend it to other patients, and then the key features that they really like in this that is helping them better manage their health situation. So behind this, again, it's also the data portion. So what we have so far is to really put this into a, what we would call in healthcare ecosystem, where on one side you have the management of the patient, with the treatment companion, but also the healthcare professionals, where they can easily better coordinate and manage patient situation with the interoperable aspect of this. In final, how do we work? Our approach is really to work in partnerships. So first, looking at tying this with patient and medical associations. On the other side, also with the sponsors, whether they're pharma companies in the private side, but also public agencies, like the state of Rhode Island as one of our first clients for the last 3 years, and now scaling with other government agencies. And then finally with health institutions or health systems, whether they're insurance or care provider systems. Some example of those partnerships, most recently the ones with Zambezi, who is a new group that are launching this system of cell phone, but also with cashback concept into it, targeting the African-American populations in the US first. So we believe this is a good partnership that will give us more access to patients in different communities. We have a partnership also with the France Psoriasis Group, obviously in Europe. And this is with the launch of TAVI psoriasis to help patients who actually are affected with this condition, chronic condition. And one of the interesting aspects of this is also the gamification that is incorporated in it. So now, how do we make the link, with these different trade agreements? As Jean was talking earlier, June, about the CETA. For us, being a Canadian company and doing business in Europe, it is an advantage to have Canada as part of the exclusion or the adequacy rule of Europe with regard to GDPR, that is very strict with patient data confidentiality and also mobility or privacy of that data. So when we look at the services that we have from different big carriers for data and privacy, these rules come to play for us, and we do benefit from our Canadian situation to be part of the Europe agreement to better benefit from them, or better adapt our solutions to them. Another aspect of our participation in some of these trade organizations is also working closely with agencies that are involved in those. On the financial side here, we work with IQ and PME Montréal, the Export Development of Canada group, and other, I would say, federal agencies. And we've been part of the CAMC for the last 4 years that has helped us identify opportunities and get exposure in different settings, including the alignment with the NMSDC in the US. So we're very grateful for this type of collaboration and guidance and consultancy that we get with these agencies. So in a nutshell, that's what I wanted to show you, and obviously very much open to address any questions that you may have. Christina.
Thank you, John, for that presentation. We do have a few questions. So this question is addressed to both Jean and June. What would you say are the top do's and don'ts when using free trade agreements? June, do you want to start off?
I'll leave that to you.
June, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Jean, that was very interesting. Thank you for, shout out for the Trade Commissioner service. That's actually really what we do and we're proud of. And well, to do the top do's and don'ts when using free trade agreements, I would say, Canadian companies often wonder if an FTA can help them in a particular market, but really, that really depends on whether the market actually suits the needs of the particular company. Determining that relies on research to see if that potential market is a good fit. Often doing some homework can unveil some unexpected potentials for exporters and investments. I just want to put a quick example there. I've been working with a very established companies, and then they have everything. They have all the products suited for a EU markets, and then one day that my contact came back to say, June, but I thought you said that we no longer pay the tariff. How come they still want to charge me the 22%? this, what was, isn't that part of the free trade agreement? When I look at the situation, I was like, it's VAT, it's value added tax. So when you look at the free trade country with a free trade agreement, you really have to understand, like, we limit the tariff, but not necessarily that there are like a VAT, like our sales tax, it still applies. So before you're pricing out your products to be more competitive, really have to budget that kind of buffer into your pricing. There is a way that you can do it. You can let the VAT become a paperwork exercise, but you do have to know that in advance so you won't get surprised. That's my tip, just for top do's. Yes. And
John, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, well, for me, it's not so much to say, what are the don'ts. I mean, there are so many possibilities of things people probably shouldn't do. But what I could say that, are the do's is one, don't go it alone, because we do have tremendous resources here in Canada. Again, I'm not saying this to be nice, but I think the trade service is an excellent one. So to sort consult, and many of the operations we've done worked with their help, including opening our business in France and also in Tunisia. So I think you avoid a lot of mistakes that way. The other thing is that we're not a company that is into goods selling or transport. So it's not so very heavy because we're in technology. So our movement is more about people and also I guess our sales. So for people, we typically open an office in those countries. Therefore, we have personnel hired locally for it. And for the rest is really about selling. And for that, I think it's pretty open what we can do and how to market ourselves. So my real advice is don't just necessarily try to do things alone, but seek for the services that are already offered to us. And it's a good investment of our taxes.
Thank you. This question is for Jean. Could you shed some light on some of the important export challenges faced by the digital health industry in Canada?
Export challenges. I don't know so much about challenge for exporting, because again, it is not any goods that that you're carrying. But what I do know is that there's a lot of noise in the digital health space, and people tend to mix a lot of things together when they not necessarily are mixed, because for one, there are digital solutions that anyone can build in their garage without necessarily having the strong base, let's say, for healthcare. And then there are those that are more scientifically sound. So I think it's very important to better separate ourselves based on what we're selling to effectively communicate it. The rest is really to learn and adapt quickly, because the market is changing very rapidly. And I've seen lots of companies come and go, especially when you're not entirely sure of where is your business, where are your clients, and what exactly is the solution and the value that you're providing. So that tends to be the thing that I think that makes the difference in terms of having the key focus on the segment that can really generate quick revenue, let's say, to sustain the business. Because the big challenge we often have here in Canada, and at least in Montreal, is that we're in a small ecosystem compared to people in California or Boston and some of those big places in the US, Silicon Valley, where there's lots of money to finance companies. So I think here there are a lot of things we need to do on our own to set ourselves, and then gradually then we get to the next level.
Thank you. June, this is a question for you. How are foreign investment promotion and protection agreements different than free trade agreements, and who would it be applicable to?
Okay, thank you. Wow, this is it's a big question, but it's Canadian companies may notice there are this two type of international trade. They're both international trade agreements, and FTA is the free trade agreements, FTAs, and the other one you just mentioned, the foreign investment promotion and the protection agreement, we call it FIFA. So both agreements actually to make it easier for Canadian companies to conduct business in a market around the world. The main difference, I would say, difference between FTAs and the FIFAs is more like instructional in nature. Like for FTAs usually focus on lowering or like removing tariff barriers that restrict trade between two countries or between multiple countries. And FIPAs are more like economics in nature. Well, FIFA aims at promoting foreign investment in a particular country and ensure a stable environment for the flow of investment. So you can consider it as a free trade agreement, but one is more on a tariff, reduction and regulatory compliance. The other one is more like a promoting the foreign investment in like between countries. And I would say like I think up to now, like Canada has signed about we have about like 37 FIPAs with the different countries. I hope that answered the question, but I'm happy to if you have if you need further information, please do follow up with me offline. I'm happy to look into that if you have a specific question of FTAs and FIPAs. Thank you. Back to you, Christina.
This question is for Jean. Medlink has an office in Tunisia. What is your presence or connections with partners in the sub-Sahara countries, specifically countries in East, Central, and Southern African countries?
Yeah, and please call me Manasseh in terms of Jean. We are actually in process now to expand further across Africa. I mean, the first 2 years for the business we established there was primarily as a development team, and in preparation that eventually we'll be able to have that operation scale to Africa and the Middle East. So now there are very positive discussions happening. So we're going to be able to have further presence in the whole region. I cannot disclose too much of this, but we're progressing well in there.
Thank you. June, there's a question here for you. Are there programs in place to support Black tech businesses to conduct business in markets like USA and Caribbean and Europe?
Thank you for the question. Like I mentioned, we work with the companies by sectors, and we also have in each and every office, we have a champion we call the champion, a diversity champion that work particular with a certain group of Canadian businesses. Like myself, I am the champion for Indigenous business. So in my office, we have like 3 more champions that work particularly with, I don't want to call it, but they call it different names now, but we do. Like the short answer is yes. And we can work with you on those markets, and then you fit one of our sectors. It's tech sector. You will please reach out to me. I'll introduce you to my colleagues who covers ICT. And also we do have a diversity champion that will be able to work with you. There are extra resources like for sometimes we have specific trade missions or specific B2Bs, the events that will connect you with like we call the foreign buyers or foreign contacts. The answer is yes, and please reach out to me.
There's a follow-up to that. Are you able to share your contact information to share with the attendees?
Of course.
Yeah. So
could you do that, Christine? I don't
yes.
want to touch my screen. I don't want to mess it up.
Not to worry. So if you just share it with me, I'll type it and I'll send it to all the attendees.
Okay.
I would add one more point on June's comment, Christine.
Sure.
For finding opportunities, whether Black business or other, I would say, ethnicities, one of the key sources is actually right here, which is the CAMC who organized this event. I've been being a part of it again for the last 4 or 5 years. I think the opportunities that they bring is tremendous, especially when there is the activity to the NMSDC, sorry, annual event in the US. I think there's a very, very strong gathering of people who are in business and who are part of minority groups, from blacks to Hispanics to Indian and gay, and the link to those very large corporations who normally would be looking for minority-owned suppliers. So I think it's one of the best sources to actually find opportunities.
Thank you for that.
Welcome. Thank you for your help.
It's always great to hear these success stories. This next question is also for June. What might be a few important trade agreements that our network needs to focus on in the upcoming year? So I guess what they're trying to understand is which of the agreements have proven to have more success.
Well, I have to say that like all the free trade agreements actually benefit Canadian companies, depends on where your target markets are. And well, CUSMA, I would say the NAFTA 2.0 is, I think came into effect the second one, 0.0 was July 2020, and it's still a lot. We do a lot of trade with the US. I think that's the one. If you're not familiar with the previous one, and then now it's time to get to know more about the new CUSMA. And this is something I would say, because of the proximity, a lot of my clients organically grow the next market is the US. So that is something that's really someone that the free trade market you should really focus on. And also, I also want to mention that we got this question a lot is also what was the Brexit? Well, I cannot talk about really high level, but as UK, as UK is no longer part of the EU, and the Canada-UK trade relationships no longer governed by CETA. So, well, in November, there's some progress. In November last year, Canada has concluded a negotiation of a new, we call it Canada-UK Trade Continuity Agreement. So I would say if you do a lot of business with the UK and you're just don't know what you're going to do, you're looking now. I think, well, we'll look for the new Canada-UK Trade Continuity Agreement. Well, I think once ratified, it will preserve the main benefits of CETA and Canada's competitive advantage in the UK market. So this also, we're looking, when we talk about free trade agreements, this includes the elimination of tariff. We're thinking of on 98% of products, of Canadian products that export to the UK. So I would say, if you do a lot of the business with the UK, pay attention to this coming one. That's pretty much what I say about this question. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm just being mindful of time, and I don't see any further questions. So I would like to take this opportunity today to say thank you for speaking at the CAMC webinar series. We're really grateful for the time and the effort you took to share your expertise and experience with us. I really believe that our suppliers who are looking to export will benefit from the information that was shared today. Again, thank you, June and Manas, for your time. For the panelists and for our speakers and our attendees, I do want to share that our next upcoming webinar is getting digital, upping your e-commerce game. Check out our website. We also have an exciting procurement fair coming up in April, and also we have a pitch competition that is we've rolled out. So if you are a small minority-owned business, less than 5 years, make sure you check out our website and send in your pitch videos. This is exciting times for us, and we're looking forward to hear from you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Christine. 5 minutes.